After ducking the law 42 times despite summons by the court, self-styled Godman Rampal has been produced before the court. Haryana police has produced him at the Punjab and Haryana High Court, and his bail in connection with the 2006 murder case, remember, was earlier cancelled. The bench said that the bail of 2nd April 2008 has to be cancelled and he needs to be arrested immediately. Fresh charges of waging war against the country, sedition, criminal conspiracy and various charges under the section of the Arms Act, among others, were brought against Rampal. Several officials of the Satlok Ashram were also charged. Cops can bring up more sections when fresh evidence does emerge. Are fresh visuals that are coming in from the Punjab and the Haryana High Court. Remember, this is after Rampal was arrested late last night in a swoop down by the Haryana police, then taken to the Panchkula hospital where his medical tests were conducted. It showed that his condition was absolutely normal except for an increase in blood pressure. He was then taken to the Panchkula police station and now he is finally being produced before the Punjab and Haryana High Court. They will take up his hearing at 2 p.m. this afternoon. And as Rampal was being escorted out of the court by the police, he refuted all charges levelled against him.
बहुत अफसोस है
नहीं, जो आपने अपने अनुयायियों को ढाल बनाया और आप पीछे छुपे रहे,
मैंने किसी को नहीं, वो
आप सही मानते हैं?
मैंने नहीं बनाया किसी को, वो अपने आप ही बन रहे थे.
Now remember, the High Court had pronounced the cancellation of the bail immediately after Haryana Advocate General and SHO Barwala Police Station in Hisar moved an application stating that he had been arrested in contempt of court. Now Rampal, after 2 weeks of harsh resistance, finally was arrested by the Haryana police, and after days of stubborn resistance, remember, it turned Barwala town into a war zone. With this controversial sect leader, Guru Rampal was finally arrested from his fortified ashram in a late night swoop. However, what is worrying right now, even now, is that at least 2,000 of his staunch supporters are still inside the Satlok ashram, which means that he may be produced before court. Law may have caught up with him, but the operation is still not over as questions still persist over whether these 2,000 supporters that are holed up inside the ashram are part of the group that guarded Rampal all this while and the kind of arms that they possess, and in retaliation whether they will launch an attack on the cops. Over the last 2 weeks of the standoff, of the self-styled Godman's private armed force has been playing a key role in protecting him. And now Pankaj Upadhyay, who's been tracking the story very closely, also joining us live. Pankaj, we understand that after the Punjab and Haryana High Court cancelled the bail of controversial Godman Rampal in this 2006 murder case, they've ordered that he be taken into custody immediately. Now the hearing is slated to begin at 2 p.m. this afternoon.
That's right. Finally, the law has prevailed after creating so many problems that we saw in around his own ashram, making women and children as human shields, creating problems not just for the administration, putting at ransom the police personnel, the paramilitary forces. Finally, the law has prevailed, and the controversial self-styled Godman was not just behind bars today, but finally he is appearing in the court as well. But then the story is far from over. There are disciples of his, which are so-called commandos of his army, who are still holed up inside his ashram. Here as well, his body language looked very different from someone who would have thought, who has really succumbed to the circumstances, had to bow in front of the law. But then this body language really needs to be further probed now. As I was saying in the early hours as well, further investigation needs to be conducted whether all this while that he never appeared before the court 43 times in 4 years, did he have some sort of a political backing? After all, why was this a stance then? So these are some of the things that really need to be investigated. How was it that all this while the police machinery, the state intelligence unit was not aware of the armed militia inside the ashram? Why was he making the women and children as human shields all this while, and the police was not in any position to track the case? So these are some of the things which really need to be probed right now. But as far as the proceedings in Punjab and Haryana High Court are concerned, 2 o'clock is the time. Mind you, this is with regards to the contempt of the court proceedings in which he had been earlier summoned as well. He offended the regulations of the bail, and that is why his bail that was given in April 2008 today stays cancelled as well. But another important development also remains that fresh FIRs have been registered in Hisar as well. Transit remand perhaps could be taken after he's given a judicial custody here, and then the police in Hisar could try and take police custody to seek further investigation on fresh charges that have been labelled against him, including that of sedition as well. Sanjana.
Right, Pankaj, if you can actually take us through what the charges are that have been slapped against Rampal. We understand that fresh FIRs are likely to be filed against him in connection with the 6 deaths that also took place in the ashram.
Sanjana, first was the case that related to 2006, which was a murder conspiracy case for which he had served 2 years imprisonment as well, but he was out on bail in April 2008. But that bail has been cancelled now. He has been arrested. But today was the contempt of court proceeding which is being heard here. The High Court had taken sumo to cognizance, realizing that he was not appearing for trial in the courts, and that is why he was first summoned. And still, when the rules were flouted, a non-bailable arrest warrant was issued, and that is the reason, after creating so much of ruckus all around the ashram, finally the law prevailed. He was nabbed and has been produced here. In all probability, he would be sent into judicial custody here, but then there is no escape for the Godman here. From here onward, perhaps transit remand would be taken, and the cases which have been filed against him in Hisar, that is of land grabbing, sedition as well, inciting violence as well, and many other sections of which the police sources are also telling us that the minimum imprisonment could be that of life as well, because murder would invite a life imprisonment, minimum life imprisonment, and maximum death penalty as well. So there is no escape route as far as Rampal is concerned now. But the game also shifts to his various supporters as well, which have been armed militias as well. They have been hand in glove. They were the one who would aid and abet his various crimes, which are also being investigated, and that is why it is being learned that the Hisar police could also ask for police custody. So troubles galore for Rampal now from here on. Sanjana.
But Pankaj, so what exactly is going to happen now? Because we do understand that after his bail was cancelled, he was ordered to be taken into custody immediately. So today, the court is going to take up the hearing at 2 p.m. What's likely to happen when they, when they pronounce the order?
See, as far as the murder conspiracy case of 2006 was concerned, on which he was out on bail ever since April 2008, that stays cancelled now. The court is hearing the contempt of the court, because on many occasions when he was expected to be present on the court, on at least 43 occasions in the last 4 years, he was not present at all. Now this is another case. Why was he not present? Was he getting some political backing or not? But this angered the court, and that is why summons were issued. And even then, when he was not present, non-bailable arrest warrants were issued, and that is why he is here today. In all probability, since he has been arrested, he has been pronounced as an accused. Since he has been accused now in 2 instances, one here and other in Hisar as well. Now he is a serial offender now. Now he has been arrested as well. So there is going to be no release for this guy. But on the other hand, after having been given judicial custody, the police on the other hand, which has registered fresh FIRs against him, which I said also includes the serious charges of sedition as well, which might invite a minimum imprisonment of life as well. The police will seek his police custody so as to further investigate, and that investigation is going to revolve around various layers. One, about the political linkages that he might have had. Secondly, about the huge armed militia that he had gathered in his ashram. Third, the procurement of the arms all around. Then inciting violence inside the ashram and outside, provoking the sentiments of the people who have gathered in the ashram and turning them towards the state, land grabbing issues. So multiple cases have been put against him. Multiple sections of the IPC have been imposed against him, and that's the reason why we say there is no easy going for Rampal from here on.
Right, Pankaj, and what exactly happens to the 425 supporters that have also been detained?
The fact remains they would also be tried under various sections of the IPC. Earlier we had learned that 70 armed men of Rampal along with 270 others had been detained by the police. Further investigation into the matter will also proceed from here on. Police would like to ascertain who these people really are, whether they really have any linkages with the nexus as well, because theories was also doing the rounds that Rampal had gathered these arms militias from various states as well. He was paying them on a regular basis as well. And what was the purpose? Why were these arms militias inside? Is there further mystery into it? That really needs to be investigated. What was the role of this armed militia? That really needs to be investigated. On how many occasions and in what all offences was this militia involved? That also needs to be investigated. Even as far as 2006 case was concerned, Rampal was accompanied by this very army of his, which had shot one of the villagers as well way back in 2006. So all these cases clubbed together include not just Rampal but his entire armed militia as well. So further investigation into the entire cases is going to continue from here on. But we all know it was only after the pressure that was built by the courts, because it was the court that had held the state government responsible for the lack of proactiveness all this while, that Rampal was not appearing in the court. And it was only after the statements were let out, it was only after the notice that was served by the court that action was taken, because the state government and the police and the paramilitary forces had then come under a lot of pressure. But then finally that pressure worked, law has taken its own course, and today we see Rampal inside the High Court.
Pankaj Upadhyay, thank you so much for bringing us those updates. We'll continue tracking the story as it develops. Remember, the hearing is slated to begin at 2 p.m. this afternoon.